JJ, you have diligently, and it's very nice of you to help out all the 18 clubs with what their New Year's resolution should be. And I might chime in with a couple here and there, but let's just start rolling through for you. Are we going alphabetically with your old mob first, or one of your old mobs?
We'll have to. Let's start with the Mighty Crows. Now, in a sense, the resolutions are as much a need as they are a desire. Hopefully the two go hand in hand, Sam. Adelaide's is get polished because I think they've got a lot of things in place, the Crows, just need a little more class and a little more finishing touch, a little bit more of that Midas touch at the end. So more polish and more class. And if you were going to look for some class and polish, Isaac Rankin might be a good place to start. Not wanting to put too much pressure on the young man, but he's a very nice place to start.
No, I like those. And I would, just in with the Isaac Rankin theme, I would say that the New Year's resolution for the Crows is to make sure that Darren Burgess makes sure that making a small forward their highest paid player doesn't bite them on the arse. So it would be get him into the midfield as quick as you can to get that return on investment.
Yeah, I've said this on SEN a couple of times. I don't necessarily think he or Josh Rochelle, who was an equally high pick last year, need to be permanent midfielders. I just think they need to be around the ball. You can be around the footy and around stoppages without playing as a midfielder. We've seen that with countless players, but even Patrick Lipinski had a really good season as an extra midfielder, didn't he?
He
starting
did.
as a forward and playing around the footy. That's all they need from Rochelle and Rankin, because I don't think Isaac will ever be able to physically run through the midfielder. I just don't think that's his makeup.
The other one I would say as a New Year's resolution is just delete Kane's number from Tex's phone. I would have thought that'd be right up there as well.
I bumped into the big man.
Into
the big man the other day at a wedding, and just casually, can you just put the phone away after hours?
Yes. And how was that advice received?
He just gave me a big smirk and a wink, and I said, "Oh, you didn't send it anyway, apparently. So you've got nothing to answer. You've got nothing to answer for, Taylor." And he said, "Exactly right, Josh."
Yeah, maybe just change the lock password on your phone if you can't delete the number itself. What about Brisbane? What's the New Year's resolution for the Lions?
The speed bump, the speed hump, got to get over it. They've tried to drive the car over the speed hump a few times, and I'll give them an enormous amount of credit for getting to the speed hump, because there's a lot of teams who don't get anywhere near it. And they have, and with their acquisitions in the off-season, I've had a look at their best 22 on paper a few times. They look.
Looks
Now,
good,
I'm not one for winning the off-season, but I tell you what, their best 22 looks mighty impressive. So just get over the hump, get over the speed hump, and once you get over it, hopefully the world's your oyster. So hopefully this is the year for Brisbane Lions fans. Hopefully this is the year. They can really play with composure and do the right things in big moments, kick accurately and those types of things. And Jack Gunston will help that a fair bit. And Josh Dunkley will help with that composure as well in terms of being a composed player, not necessarily the way he plays, but just his temperament. So hopefully that's what Brisbane can do.
Yeah, they got every ingredient. It's just about getting the recipe right, isn't it? And the resolution I had for them is a little bit like a prayer. And those who are religious will know the Lord's Prayer, thy will be done. This is thy will be done good. As Will Ashcroft, if they said they would have played him last year if they had been able to pick him up in last year's draft. The year before's draft. So you're hoping that he is the generational player that they hope for him to be. And the other thing for them, JJ, is ranked second in offense last year, but 10th in defence. So that defence just needs a little tweaking. Yeah,
just get in the top 6. They say you've got to be in the top 4 in both, but get yourself into the top 5 or 6.
Yep.
And Ashcroft, what type of player? What sort of player are we expecting? How we expect him to go about it, or where are we expecting him to play? Is he going to be on the wing? Will he go through the middle?
Yeah, so if Dunkley hadn't have arrived, you would have thought that he might have slotted straight onto the ball. But will they expose him to that, or will they do something similar to what Collingwood did with Dacos and say, we know you're going to be our number one mid, but let's just get games into you and play off half-back. You've got no other responsibility than just provide an option, and we'll play through you and get the ball in your hands. Matt Rowell, those 3 Brownlow votes in the first 3 games, but then even though he looked like he was physically where he needed to be, but we know that young bodies may not be underneath what they look to be from the outside. So in the way that bones develop and muscles and all that. So will you expose him straight away into the furnace, or do you put him wing, half back, high half forward? So it'd be interesting to see how they do that.
Yeah, no doubt. No, it doesn't matter how impressive a young player looks physically. They're almost always giving away size, and they are definitely giving away experience to older players every time they go and take the field. So that's why sometimes young guys can look good at the start, and then after 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 weeks, they just get worn down and worn out.
And there is a Sam Walsh comparison with Will Ashcroft as well.
Okay. Well, that'll work.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's all right. How about Carlton for you? The New Year's resolution for the Blue Baggers?
Nothing more than health for me. I was the number one ticket holder with the Blues last year, and they just simply lost too much talent from their best 22. They lost Wiedering for a portion of the season. They lost midfielders all over the place, and in the end, they had no midfielders at the end of the season. So, that to me, from what I saw, and I was lucky to see them play a lot last year, their best last year was close to as good as I saw from anyone. They just need to be healthy. If they're healthy with another year in the Voss system, I think the world's their oyster as well. So, just need to be healthy.
Yeah, they got to break their back to fix Sam Walsh's. That's priority number one.
That's a massive worry. I could smell that one. I don't think it was with you. I think I might have been on with Kane on breakfast. And when you've been in the system and you read press releases, some words mean more than others. And when you say hasn't participated before Christmas, absolute alarm bells going off in my head straight away. So, that's a major concern for Walsh and the Blues.
Yeah, and look, learning how to close out fourth quarters would be high on the agenda for them as well. And they're not the only team, but geez, there was round 22 and round 23 fourth quarters will be forever remembered, not for the positive for them. The other one is they've been given a lot of primetime games, JJ, for a team that didn't make the 8. They've been given a lot of plum spots. We know that they're one of the old Big Four clubs, and we know that they've got big supporter base and everything like that. But you've been given prime time. You sort of need to show that you deserve to be there. So it's got to be another step forward for the Blues this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does, and I think it will be. I mean, perhaps their biggest issue this year will be being able to deal with the weight of expectation, because everyone, including the AFL and the fixture makers and the broadcasters, think that they're going to be one of the top teams or the most watchable teams of the year. So maybe that's going to be their biggest trouble, is dealing with all that expectation.
We're up to the Pies, JJ. What is the New Year's resolution for Collingwood?
Big Darcy Cameron to justify the decision to move on the big man, BG Brodie Grundy,
no
because
pressure.
No, well, it's not Darcy's fault.
No.
I mean, he just needs to go about his business and do his thing. But from a club and a list management point of view, it's a big decision. And I know there's finances involved and this and that. But if Brodie Grundy lights things up as a Melbourne Demon, whilst the Pies are paying part of his salary and the Pies are having some ruck troubles, how's that going to go down in Magpie Land?
I wouldn't have thought favourably.
No,
yeah,
I wouldn't think
like
so
broken
either.
glass. So mine for Collingwood is prove split ends wrong. The song History Never Repeats. You want to prove that wrong, because if they find themselves in close games again this season, Collingwood, their record in close games last year was just insane. I mean, it had never been seen before. The odds tell you that it shouldn't, but it did. So if they get in those tight situations again, has that game plan that they trained and they worked on so diligently and so often of how to execute in tight situations, has that got another evolution? Because every team will have looked at it now and seen how they go about it when the whips are cracking, when the game's on the line and when it's tight. And it was like 11 games in single digits that they won, coming back from, how many points down, how many often. Extraordinary. So they are trying to prove split ends wrong, that history never repeats, because logic would tell you that luck has to go against you at some point. So the numbers will tell you that, or the belief would be this year that they'll slide down the draft because percentage was so low. Their ability to win those close games was what got them into the 4. But can they do that again? That's going to be fascinating.
It will be, and they're always a great watch, Collingwood, but they were the most dramatic team of the season last year. I agree, and it's there'll be split decisions, and when the pundits and experts start bringing out their predictions in the new year. Now we're in 2023 and we await the 2023 season. Yep. There'll be people will have them second and people will have them 14th because
absolutely
not because they're Collingwood, just because of the way they played their footy last year and what people will like to believe.
Yeah, and as Jared said last year, some things just cannot be explained. Kingy did a pretty good job explaining some of it statistically on what they do and how they structure up and set up and how they execute in those tight games. But it was just one of the joys to watch of last year, no matter who you barrack for, that time and time again they were able to find a way, and they were at, the catalyst, or they were at the forefront of some of the most exciting games of the year. But as it's been pointed out off the text, they lost their two finals by less than a goal as well. So what worked so well in the regular season escaped them during finals. So that'll be the next evolution of it as well.
Yeah, it will be. There's going to be, we talk about Carlton and the fascination with them, or there'll be the same fascination with Collingwood. And not solely because they are big, bigger teams and have bigger followerships. It's just purely because of what the unknown of what we're going to see from them going into the season.
JJ, we're doing our New Year's resolutions for each of the 18 teams, and we are up to Essendon.
Essendon. How about a universally accepted sustainable game style? Is that what we would appreciate?
Oh, is that all? Is that all?
Well, no one seems to be happy with what they've put out on the park over the past few years, and we know the butt of the joke about the finals and all those types of things. So Brad Scott's in there. And he's a professional coach. I know he'd been doing other things, but he's a coach. And you'd imagine his first port of call will be just getting them a brand of football that everyone respects and is, consistent week to week.
I would go with the George Costanza statement, do the opposite. Because everything they've been doing for the last couple of years, last year, let's just stick with last year, everything they did, it went wrong in every facet, not just of their football, but as a club. Yeah. So whatever you did last year, do the opposite this year. And that might help you go a long way to getting rid of that Twitter account that's got the count on it. But I should have got the audio for that, but that is essentially it. Do the opposite.
Yes. That's probably fair enough. But, big year for the Bombers. Big year. Yeah. Big year for the Bombers.
And this has got to be the other thing too. Reward the unrewarded running. Like, a lot of the criticism of them last year was not just that they couldn't defend, it's that people believe that they didn't want to.
Yeah. Reward the unrewarded.
Yep.
I like it. Maybe I should have just said that.
And this has come through the Bombers' New Year's resolution, learn and execute team defence. Play to your strengths and play Moncara. Off the text, Essendon need to get rid of the puffy shirts and get fit. Now, that's a Seinfeld reference after I said that Essendon's New Year's resolution should be the George Costanza approach and do the opposite of everything they did last year as a team and as a club. Do the opposite. Where are we up to? Fremantle.
And for what it's worth, the fitness stuff I think is largely a nonsense. It's largely a nonsense. Yes, it's if you're not fit, generally it's because of injury-interrupted pre-seasons, not just the person and people running the show have got no idea. They're all world-class preparers of athletes, and the players are largely very diligent. I think that's a little overstated, that fitness stuff. But anyway, that's just my view. Fremantle, Action Jackson need to... we're all a little interested, like we are with the Ds, and we'll get to them soon. We're just a little interested in terms of how they're going to utilise and use their new weapon, Luke Jackson. So,
are they going to try and Swiss Army knife him, are they? Like, he can play everywhere?
Yes, potentially, and that's the beauty of him, but I think that's also going to bring about some potential frustration with an inconsistency in performance because just because he can play as a midfielder because he's extremely athletic doesn't mean it'll be a success. He'll be going up against midfielders who do this for a living, and he just rolls in there and does it every now and then. So there's a bit to play out there with Luke Jackson, but I'd rather have him than not have him. Fremantle have got him. and it's up to them to work out how to utilise him best. So that's probably their resolution, is working out how to use the former D.
Yeah, mine for Fremantle is remember that there is more to footy than just defending. So they were a top 4 ranked defence last year, but they have to focus on the offensive side, goal kicking. So they were equal 14th for goals per game.
Yep.
They had the second worst accuracy in the competition at around 45%.
Well,
only North Melbourne had a lower accuracy. But here's why it's even worse for Fremantle to be where they were with goal kicking, goals per game, and goal kicking accuracy. They were 8th for inside 50s. So they're getting it in there, JJ. They just can't finish it, and they just can't capitalise on it.
And they lose Rory Lobb as well, who had a very good season, very fine season last year, and was one guy who could jump up and grab the footy from high in the sky. So yeah, that's maybe you get a bit skewed, don't you, when you call more games than I do. But I did Fremantle games a couple of times last year, and I thought they looked quite dangerous in the front half with a lot of smalls, and Lobb looked okay. Tabberner's sort of fallen to the wayside a little bit. They even went away from him late in the season.
Tracy and Amos look likely.
I haven't seen enough from Tracy to think that he's going to have a... I think Tracy can be a really good bruiser and a really good competitor.
Yep.
But it takes more than that to be a sort of an influencing forward, tall forward. So... he's very young, so it's a bit harsh.
Did you like the look of them, though, when they were, Michael Frederick's getting out the back and Switkowski buzzing around and Banfield too?
Yes.
They're smaller operators are really dangerous. And then Michael Walters still got great footy left in him.
Yeah, that's the element that excited me. And maybe
Lachie Schultz was the guy I'm looking for as well.
Yes, yep. I saw them against St Kilda when St Kilda were pretty... good in the first half, and then the Smalls got up to halfway and they all charged back to goal. What they do with Fife is interesting as well, because his days around the ball are probably limited.
Does anyone take a better pre-season photo than Fife? They just paused at the right time. Yeah, where there's veins just he looks like he's about to be the body double for Chris Hemsworth. He is ripped.
Yeah, quite incredible. That was quite incredible. I didn't know the photo you're talking about, but my wife was quite keen on it. A little too keen on it, to be fair. Just a little bit too keen on the photo, but that's okay. I don't look like that, and he does.